Tonight's true scary story is two separate stories from one person, and these stories creeped me the out. I'm just gonna jump right into it. So today's submitter, we're gonna call her Anna. She wants to remain anonymous. She will be in the comments. She will see all of the comments. So if you have anything to say to her, just drop it below. In the summer of 2020, her and her friends decided to go to this highway overpass where you could see inside of the overpass. Now it's important to note that on this overpass, a couple years prior, a teenage boy had unfortunately committed suicide. And there were also a lot of other suspicious deaths, including some suspected murders. The area is around a side river. They get to the overpass after a short walk. They lift one another up into the tunnel under the highway overpass, and they immediately see graffiti. It was pretty normal for graffiti to be there, but this time it was satanic graffiti and also a little bit of spiritual graffiti, so very odd. Now there was a smaller tunnel inside the overpass that was very dark. On the wall was painted 666, there was pentagrams, there was also painted God is watching. It also says angels are here. Suddenly, they hear laughter coming from the small tunnel. Now at this point, she immediately wants to leave because that laugh sounded evil, but her friends didn't hear it, only she did. They continue to look around, but then she hears it again, but all 5 of them hear it this time. Her friend Jack immediately grabs his cross around his neck and he just starts praying, and the rest of them are looking around trying to figure out where this laughter is coming from. I think maybe a homeless man is sleeping there, but they don't see anything, so they choose to ignore it. And they hear it again, and they decide, okay, it's time to leave. They start lowering themselves down to the exit. All of a sudden, Anna gets this sudden urge to walk down the smaller tunnel, which is incredibly dark, mind you. She just all of a sudden immediately became fearless after she would just been terrified by that laugh. She has her phone flashlight in one hand, and she begins walking down the tunnel when she notices that one side of the tunnel is very dark. There's satanic markings on this side, but the other side of the tunnel is very godly and spiritual. She makes it about 30 feet into the tunnel and she can no longer see her friends at the exit, when suddenly she hears this laughter, but it is right in front of her face this time. This laugh made her snap out of whatever made her fearless in the first place. She snapped out of it and she ran back, absolutely terrified. Jack was waiting for her so that he could help lower her down out of the tunnel, and she tells him about the laugh that she heard. He says that he hears it too, and then he slowly lowers her down, when suddenly rocks start flying from where she was walking in the tunnel, narrowly missing their heads. They get back to the car and they realize that there's footprints and handprints all over the car. They rush inside the car and they go to start the car, but the car won't start. And as they're trying to start it, they wait a few minutes when all of a sudden they hear walking coming around the car. They don't see anybody. After like 5 minutes, the car finally starts and they start to leave. Once they get to the road, they see a large dark figure standing directly in front of them. Jack begins to floor it. They drive right through the figure like it was a patch of fog. After they drive through the figure, they turn around and they look, and there is nothing there. They never spoke about this ever again. Now, what do you guys think happened here? What do you think was going on in that tunnel? And what do you think they saw when they drove through that black thing? Second event is in 2023 in the summer. Her and her friends decide that they're gonna bring their dogs and go swimming in a lake. It was a private lake where her friend's mom lived, and it was around about midnight. Well, it's Jack, Tina, and Bella, and Anna, and they drive as close as they can to the lake to get a parking spot. They get out of the car and they begin walking. It becomes sandy, so they take off their shoes and they leave them there. They walk about a fourth a mile before they get to the lake trail. Then it becomes rocky, so they have to be careful when they're walking because they don't have shoes on. Jack's dog is off the leash, but Bella's dog is a puppy, so she's on a leash. Jack and Anna walk to the boat launch trash to throw some trash that they had in their hands away, when all of a sudden they hear splashing in the water. Jack calls his dog, assuming that the dog had walked in, but he's about 20 feet away from the water, and Bella's dog is still on a leash, so it's not Bella's dog. You hear the rustling of tall grass like moving down next to the water. They shine their lights and nothing is there. The grass wasn't even flattened, so they kind of just play it off as just a small animal because they don't know what else to think at this point. Now Tina and Bella meet up with Jack and Anna because they are a little far behind them, when all of a sudden they start to hear twigs snapping as soon as Tina and Bella get closer to Jack and Anna. And the twigs are snapping in the tree line right in front of them. Jack then announces, "Whoever is here, my dog is on high alert, so make yourself known because he will bite you." There was no response, so he calls out again, "My dog will bite you if you do not announce yourself." Silence. So they all decide to shine their flashlights in the tree line to see if anything's there, and nothing is there. At this point, they're like, okay, screw the lake, we're not swimming anymore, this is terrifying, and so they start heading back to the car. As soon as they start walking again, they hear the twigs snapping again, and the rustling of trees, right where that tree line is. But again, they see nothing. At this point, Jack's dog is starting to circle them. He is on high alert, and the puppy's fur is standing up on end. So the dogs are freaked out. They then put their backs to each other, and they begin walking to the boat launch where she had parked her car earlier. And again, they hear walking. So they shine their flashlights all around to see if anything is there, and again, they see nothing. By this point, they are starting to get really freaked out, and they begin walking faster, and they hear the leaves crunching and twigs snapping again. It sounded like whatever this was keeping up at their own pace. So they stop and they listen like 3 or 4 more times. Every time they stop, this thing stops. Then they begin sprinting towards the car, and whatever is doing this starts sprinting with them. This whole time they have their flashlights facing the tree line, literally hoping that this is just a bear. That's how scared they were. They were hoping it was a bear instead of something else. Finally make it back to where their shoes are. They put on their shoes, and then Jack drives her car because he knows the area pretty well. They shine their headlights on the tree line to see if there's any footprints, and there's nothing. The only thing that could have sounded like that and matched their pace would have been something like a human, or something that stands like a human and walks on 2 legs. They assumed it was something intelligent because it stayed just out of their sight as they were walking. They were never able to catch it with their flashlight, and the dogs may have seen it or sensed it just because of how alert they were to their surroundings. The next day, Jack and Anna bring his dog back to the area to see if he can maybe pick up a scent. He's a German Shepherd Rottweiler mix, and he doesn't sense anything, and they don't see any footprints. Now, growing up in Michigan, they had always heard of the dog man, who stands about 7 to 9 feet tall, sounds horrendous, howls, and it sounds terrible, and walks on 2 feet sometimes. Yes, there was a 7-minute long video on YouTube about Dogman, and they lived like 30 minutes away from where that originated. Apparently, Dogman comes out on every 7th year, so like 1997, 2007. They said because of where the area was, and because there's a lot of teenagers there, and it's a private area, a lot of houses, they don't believe it to be Dogman, but they know the rules. If you see it, no you didn't. If you hear it, no you didn't. She said that she has no idea what that was, but it absolutely terrified them, and she has never gone back there ever. What do you guys think this was? It was in Michigan, like she said. She didn't give me the exact coordinates, but like I said, it was 30 minutes away from that YouTube video. Do you think that this was Dogman? Do you think that this was maybe a flesh pedestrian? Like, what do you think this was? Maybe an animal? She said that it sounded pretty intelligent. Whatever it was doing, it was stalking them, and it sounded like it was trying to scare them. Drop what you guys think in the comments. I think this story was very, very odd. Just very odd. Like, it doesn't sound that scary when you hear it, but imagine experiencing that. My name is Kaisa, and I tell true scary stories on here every other night, so if you like that, hit that subscribe button so you can get notified every time I tell a story. And my shout out today is going to Megastone8546. Thank you so much for being so sweet all the time and commenting and supporting my work. I love you for that. Seriously, I appreciate it so much. And you guys, if you appreciate my work, it really does help if you hit that like button. I love every single one of you, and I will get to all of your names, but for now I need you to do 2 things for me. And what are those? Have a safe night, and what? Have a spooky night. Love you guys. See you in the next one.